being a high school car guy can honestly kind of suck because your whole life you're looking at cars like Honda S2000s and Evos, and then your dad's like, hey buddy, you wanted to get your first car? You got a $2,000 budget, go ahead. And you're like, let's go, $2,000, I'm gonna buy a freaking Supra. And then you look at the prices of things and you realize, wow, I only need like 200,000 more in order to buy that Supra. And it can be kind of annoying, man. But don't worry, there are still cars out there that are cool for under $3,000 and cool in a car guy sense. Now, to the normal public, these cars might not be super cool, but you can make them super cool. Also, guys, yes, I'm not going anywhere. That video 2 days ago was an April Fool's joke. I'm going to delete it actually because I don't want anybody to see that video and think that I was just like trying to get views or something. So I'm going to delete that video. But a lot of you guys were worried. Don't need to be worried. I'm still here, baby. I ain't going anywhere. And we're back with another actual budget car top 10s. This is top 10 best cars for high schoolers under $3,000. I'm not saying that the high schoolers cost $3,000. I'm saying that the cars cost $3,000. Come on, man. Get it right. Anyway, guys, let's get right into the video. All right, so number 10 is the Chevy Cruze first generation, and I think I have to say right now that this is a perfect spot with the Chevy Cruze to say that these cars are not quote-unquote cool cars in the sense that normally people think are cool. In high school, especially for only $3,000, you don't have the biggest amount of choices for like cool cars, especially in today's market. But these cars are cars that are going to do the job. They're gonna get you to school and back on time, but at least they're cooler than your average car. You know what I mean? So these cars are gonna be better than your average car. But the Chevy Cruze first gen, it comes with a 1.8 liter inline 4 that makes 151 horsepower, and it is front wheel drive. Reliability, being able to drive in the winter, and not a lot of horsepower are three things that high schoolers need, to be honest. And you can drive this thing in the winter, they're reliable as hell, and they only have 150 horsepower. These things can look pretty good when you slam them too, so you can have a pretty cool car if you spend the money on it, but it's not going to be like a race car. Number 9 is the Toyota Celica GT 7th generation, which comes with a 1.8 liter inline 4 that makes 180 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. This is actually a pretty decent choice here. The only reason why I put it really low is because I personally hate the looks on them, and every time I see somebody modify these things, they always race it out. Like, they never make cool looking Celicas anymore, and it's like, come on, man, they can look good. They can look good. I'm sure I'll have videos in the background of a good looking one, but most of the time people are just putting like the stupidest mods on these things. So please, if you are in high school and you buy a Celica 7th gen and you want to modify it, just look into what looks good, man, before you start racing this thing out, because they're easy to race out. But it's a sick car. They actually are a little bit of a sports car. You know, these cars are fast. They handle well. They're not fast, but they're faster than a lot of the cars on this list, and they handle well, and they look sporty too. That's one thing that they really did. Like, they look really sporty and fast, even though they only make 180 horsepower, but they're a good car for a first car, and they have that Toyota reliability. Numero 8 is the Subaru Impreza 2.5 RS that comes with, my bad, a 2.5 liter flat 4 that makes 165 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive and looks awesome. These old Imprezas look sick. It's like the GC8 generation, I think it is, but it's like, you know how the 22B STI? It's like that generation, and they look awesome. They have that freaking old retro styling to them, but they still have that rally like look to them, and they're tiny little like cars, and they're all-wheel drive, so you could go around in the winter time all you want. And I'm not 100% sure how reliable these things are, but a naturally aspirated flat 4 from Subaru is probably pretty reliable. I wouldn't slap a turbo on it. So if you're looking to like make this thing really fast, maybe get a different car, because this probably, I'm not sure, but it probably isn't that reliable when you turbocharge these things, because they're kind of notorious for that. But they are sick. All-wheel drive. You can drive them in the winter. They got a blast from the past, and they have all that rally heritage. Like, if you live in like a countryside area where you have some dirt roads, this is a great choice. Number 7 is the Volkswagen Jetta MK6, which is actually going to be the newest car on this list, which is why I put it in here. It comes with a 1.8 liter turbocharged inline 4 that makes 115 horsepower, and it's front wheel drive. Ironically, this car is the newest car on the list, the only car that comes with a turbo on this list, and still it is somehow the slowest car on this list. Why? Because it's literally a daily driver, okay? The Jetta MK6, this is the base model Jetta. Yes, you can buy the GLI or TDI, and you can get a little bit more power out of it and have like a little bit more tuning potential. But to be honest with you, if you're in high school, I recommend just getting the base model. It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot more reliable. And you can still have fun with it. You can still build this thing up to be a little bit quicker. It's not going to break any records, but it's going to be a fun first car. Now, this is not like a car that you're going to keep throughout your whole life and you're going to like build this thing up to be something insane, but it is a great start. And since it's the newest, that's just icing on the cake, man. Like, you get all the new technology. It's the most comfortable. You get all this new stuff, and it's reliable. Like, people say Volkswagen's not reliable. Yes, they are. Okay, this Jetta is reliable. It's a good car, but it's not a fast car. Number 6 is the Mitsubishi Eclipse 2G. This car comes with a 2-liter inline-4 that makes 140 horsepower, and it was front-wheel drive. Now, here's the deal. If you are looking to get an Eclipse 2G, great choice. These cars are sick. Paul Walker drove one. They're awesome. The GSX is even cooler, so if you can save up your money to buy a GSX, it's all-wheel drive and comes with a turbo, then get that. But if you can't, the base model's okay too. The one thing I want to tell you, though, is if you're going to pick one of these up in high school, bring somebody that knows cars with you, because these cars have been neglected. They were a very cheap sports car. Nobody really wanted them, so a lot of people that were, bottom of the barrel, despite the kinds of people who I'm talking about, picked these things up and used them as their daily drivers, and they are gross. They have never been taken care of. You're going to have pretty much a project on your hands as your first car, and it's going to completely ruin the experience. So if you want an Eclipse 2G, good choice, but just please, for the love of God, bring somebody with you, because these things can be traps, just absolute traps. Number 5 is the Ford Mustang New Edge. Notice how I didn't say GT, because this is the 3.8-liter V6 that makes 190 horsepower, and it was rear-wheel drive. One of the only 2 rear-wheel drive cars on this list, so if you live in an area where you can afford to daily drive a rear-wheel drive car, here you go. And now here's the deal. I know people are like, nobody wants a V6 Mustang. Nobody wants it. And I get that, but you're not going to be able to get any V8 muscle car for under $3,000. It's just impossible. Every V8 muscle car is going to be over $3,000 right now. The Mustang New Edge is a good looking Mustang too. It's one of my favorite personal favorite Mustangs out there. And if you're like a show car guy and you like the looks of them, then this is a great choice. Yes, if you are super into speed and you want to go super fast, then maybe it's not the best choice, and maybe I guess you should save up to buy a V8. But as your first car, I don't think you should have a V8 powered rear-wheel drive muscle car anyway. But I don't know. That's just me. Okay, it's a good car. Yes, you're not going to be able to build this thing to be like as fast as a V8 is, but it's still a good, fun first car. 4th place is the first generation Subaru Forester. If you know me, you know I love the freaking first gen Foresters, man. They are just baller. They come with a 2.5-liter flat 4 that makes 165 horsepower, and it was all-wheel drive. This car is pretty much exactly the same as the Impreza 2.5 RS that we just talked about, except of one major fact. It has a freaking hatchback, baby. You got all the space in the world in one of these Foresters. You want to take a girl to the drive-in? Boom, Subaru Forester. You can't do that in an Impreza. You want to go freaking camping? Boom, Subaru Forester. You want to just like host a meeting in the back of it or something, like book club? Boom, Subaru Forester. It's amazing. On top of that, it's just so awesome seeing these things modified compared to like an Impreza. You see Imprezas modified quite a bit, but you don't see these Foresters modified, and when you do, it's just such a good car. Like, it looks so good. It just looks perfect. It's almost like the Honda CR-V. Like the Honda CR-V, you don't want to do it yourself, but then when you see it, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. And that's exactly how it is with this Forester, so I had to put it above the Impreza. I love it so much more. I want a Forester, and you could rear-wheel drive swap it if you ever get bored of it. 3rd place is the Honda Civic EG, or I think that's the 3rd generation Civic, 4th maybe. But either way, it's the one that like everybody knows at this point. And it comes with a 1.6-liter inline-4 that makes 125 horsepower, and it was front wheel drive. Now, if there's anything about Civics that you need to know, it is that they are tuning legends. You can slap any motor from Honda into this Honda Civic and just massively tune it. So if you want a B18, good, put it in there. If you want a K-Series, good, put it in there. You can do whatever you want to this freaking Honda Civic, and it's going to be dirt cheap, pennies on the dollar. On top of that, the reason why, yes, this car is pretty slow stock compared to all the other cars on this list, but the reason why I put it so much higher is because as a high schooler, chances are you don't know that much about cars, and learning about how to work on a car is so much fun. But it can be really stressful if you choose the wrong car. Well, on a Honda Civic, it's literally the easiest way to learn how to work on a car. If you want to learn how to work on a car while also still having a pretty cool car that you can modify and has a big aftermarket scene, it's dirt cheap, parts are cheap, reliable as hell, can drive during the winter, this is a great choice. It's honestly one of my favorites. It's just that the other 2 cars had more like fun factor behind it, so that's why I put them higher. Second place is the Chevy Corvette C4. This thing is a death trap to anybody that doesn't know anything about cars. I want to put that out there right now. If you are somebody that is literally has like never driven a car, has never, even, I know this is going to sound crazy, but never done, like played a racing game that's like a simulation racing game, then maybe this isn't the best choice. It comes with a 5.7 liter V8 that makes 300 horsepower and it's rear wheel drive. First of all, even if you think that you're skilled enough and you live in a winter area, don't get this. Rear-wheel drive 300 horsepower as your first car is going to be a problem. But if you live somewhere where you can afford to buy a rear-wheel drive car and you don't really have winter that much, then honestly, I do think it's a good choice. Yes, you're going to have to know right now to be way more careful than any other person on this list because you have more horsepower and you have a rear-wheel drive V8 car. But if you can master it, if you can handle it, then you'll have like kind of like a head start, to be honest, because now you already know what 300 horsepower feels like and you can go on comfortably to your next car. And that's why I like it. On top of that, it's a freaking Corvette, comes with an LS, it has pop-up headlights. Like, what else is there to like about it? Doesn't have space though, so if you're like looking to carry people, buy the Forester. And finally, my personal opinion, the best first car that you can get for under $3,000 is the Acura TL 3rd generation. This car comes with a 3.5 liter V6 that makes 286 horsepower and it was front wheel drive. It checks all the boxes in a first car. It's front wheel drive so you can drive it during the winter. It's reliable because it's an Acura and it makes 286 horsepower, so it's still pretty fun and pretty fast. On top of that, it looks good. This car looks really good. If you freaking lower these Acura TLs, baby, you can call me anytime, okay? Call me up in the middle of the night and I'm gonna come say hello because these things are freaking sick, okay? I love them. On top of that, they are one of the newer cars on this list. I think they're the second newest besides the Jetta. That's obviously plays a big role in things too. You have to realize that newer cars haven't been sitting so long. They haven't been rusting as long. They're going to be in better condition typically, and they have a lot more new electronics that are just going to make your quality of life a little bit better. On top of that, it's just everything about it just like screams like first car. You know what I mean? These cars depreciated hard as hell. They're gonna come back up eventually, but right now is the perfect time. If you are looking for a first car and you don't care if it's rear wheel drive, if you just want a front wheel drive daily driver to get you to school and back on time, but you want it to be a little bit cool, the Acura TL 3rd gen is literally the perfect choice. But guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry to scare you guys 2 days ago. I know that was a bit rude, but I felt like I had to. I thought it would be hilarious, and it was kind of funny. You can't lie, it was kind of funny. Like, come on, don't play with me. Don't play with me, boys. This was kind of funny. Let me know down below what other videos that you guys would like to see. Excuse me. I think me and Eric are actually going to work on my 350Z today, and I think this should be the final touches until I can drive it again. And so if I can drive it again, that's going to be awesome. I can make a lot more 350Z content. But yeah, let me know what you guys want to see. I am going to keep uploading every other day though, because it's just a lot easier that way. It's not as stressful on my mind. I get to go have fun and do things like that. So I hope you guys understand that, but I'm still here. Just want to put that out there. Still alive and kicking. The channel's not going anywhere. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I'm sorry if I scared you the other day. I love each and every one of you, and das vidanya. Have a nice night.